footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our preview of the 2013 Belk Bowl between the Cincinnati Bearcats and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with Cincinnati. Tommy Tuberville's first season in Cincinnati has been a success, and the Bearcats are 9-3 entering this bowl game. And offensively versus North Carolina, Cincinnati wants to control the tempo. The Bearcats do a great job offensively of dictating the pace of the game, but these drives have to start ending in touchdowns once they get inside the red zone, which is why I believe it's important for them to establish the running game very early and set the tone up front. Defensively, this is one of the best defenses in the country. The Bearcats are deep, athletic, and aggressive. And in this game, however, that aggressiveness will have to be curbed just a notch because North Carolina's quarterback, Marquise Williams, is a dual-threat player, and against that read option, if you're out of position, both the running back as well as the quarterback will gash you for big plays all game long. Now let's move over to North Carolina in this ball game, and it has been a tale of two seasons for the Tar Heels, who are winners of 5 of the last 6 games after starting the season 1-5, and most of it can be attributed to the play of quarterback Marquise Williams, who took over for an injured Brent Renner earlier in the season. Now this week versus Cincinnati, the Bearcats would more than likely try to keep him contained in the pocket, which is why I believe it's key to break tendencies and come out throwing the football. The short to intermediate passing game, maybe a little boot or waggle or even spread out passing, because at the end of the day, North Carolina can always fall back to their running game, and it's mostly about keeping that Bearcat defense off balance. Now defensively for the Tar Heels, they are solid at every level of their defense. Defensive line with Kareem Martin, the linebacking core, as well as the secondary. But this week versus Cincinnati, their perimeter defense will be put to the test. The Bearcats are a football team on offense that loves to spread the field and make you play a horizontal game. So they're going to have to make a lot of plays in space if they want to have success. And versus a quarterback like Brendan Kay, they can take some calculated risks back there in the secondary to come away with maybe a turnover. So again, they have to make plays in space, and they have to take chances in the passing game versus Cincinnati. And the X factor for Cincinnati will be their safety play. They're going to have to take away the #1 option for North Carolina in the passing game. That's tight end Eric Ebron. Force Marquise Williams to go to other targets outside of the middle of the field. I think they could have some success. And the X factor in this ball game for the Tar Heels will be quarterback Marquise Williams. Since he's entered the lineup, this has been a different North Carolina football team, and it's the reason why they're in this bowl game. And it's his dual threat abilities that can give the Bearcats defense problems. That's why I think he's going to play a huge role in the outcome in this ball game. Now here are some coaching points for both teams in this ball game. For Cincinnati, quarterback Brendan Kay has to protect the football. He has to stay out of negative plays and keep this offense on pace. That's going to be key in this football game. And they must close the door on quarterback Marquise Williams. They can't allow him to break contain. You can get aggressive, but you can't lose gap integrity. Otherwise, he can gash you. And you have to bracket tight end Eric Ebron, the outstanding player for North Carolina. Playing him inside out and getting a hand on him early, you can't allow him to have a free release off the line of scrimmage. And for North Carolina in this ball game, you want to stay active at the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the football. Brendan Kay is a quarterback that tends to flatline a lot of his passes, and batted balls could result into interceptions. And you want to be alert for the screen game. Running back Ralph David Abernathy is a dangerous player in the open field, and they'll try to get him the football in space, try to take advantage of his athleticism, and the battle in the trenches has to be won by UNC. This is strength versus strength. Keeping Marquise Williams clean in the pocket will be vital for team success. Now here are some 2014 draft prospects you want to keep an eye on in this ball game. For Cincinnati, linebacker Greg Blair is one of the more underrated linebacker prospects in the country at 6'2", 250 pounds, and being that size does a great job in coverage. And I'm also a big fan of Austin Bunnock, outstanding tackle at 6'5", 295. He can play either left or right tackle, and quarterback Brandon Kay definitely needs a big game in the Belk Bowl and also in the postseason All-Star games to try to move himself up in the middle round draft consideration. Now for North Carolina, there's a bevy of talent on both sides of the ball. On the offensive side, you look at tackle James Hurst, was my preseason tackle prospect coming into the season at 6'7", 305. Tight end Eric Ebron is a junior burst onto the scene this year. Here's a guy that has the athleticism to succeed at the next level. And Trey Boston, very talented safety, does a great job as well in run support. And I'm also a big fan of Kareem Martin, solid all-around game. May not do anything flashy, but definitely will be in the right position to make plays in both the running game as well as getting pressure on the quarterback. And Jabari Price, solid cornerback, good size at 6 feet, 200 pounds. And Tim Jackson at 6'5", 285. Lighter defensive tackle, but definitely has the quicks to cause a lot of problems for opposing offenses. Before it became the Belk Bowl, it was known as the Meineke Carkel Bowl, and in 2008, West Virginia and North Carolina played a sensational game that featured quarterback Pat White for the Mountaineers and wide receiver Hakeem Nicks for North Carolina, and both would put on a spectacular show, but White would have the last say as his 20-yard touchdown strike to wide receiver Ulrich Arnett would be the game winner as West Virginia was able to come away victorious 31-30. Cincinnati took on Virginia Tech in the 1947 Sun Bowl, and what was a cold and icy day in El Paso. Both offenses went scoreless in the first half, but in the second half, led by All-American running back Roger Stevens, the Bearcats were able to hit pay dirt and ultimately win the ball game 18-6. In the 1963 Gator Bowl, North Carolina faced off against Air Force, and this wasn't close at all as the Falcons had no answer for the Tar Heels' bruising tailback Ken Willard, who had 94 yards on 18 carries as North Carolina was able to blow out Air Force 35-0. Mike Woods was one of the best linebackers in Bearcat history, played there from 1975 to 1977, and he was the school's first consensus All-American. That was in 1977, but prior to that, he was a two-time honorable mention All-American in 75 and 76. A big back with quick feet, Natrone Means is definitely a campus legend. He was a versatile back as well that ran for over 3,000 yards at 5.1 yards a carry, and also caught 61 passes for 500 yards and scored 34 rushing touchdowns in his Tar Heel career. I like the Bearcats in this ball game. This is a very good defensive football team, and it's tough to move the football against Cincinnati, and I think they'll do a great job in boxing in. Marquise Williams, an outstanding quarterback, and they can also match up well versus the receiving core of North Carolina, so I look for Cincinnati to come away the 2013 Belk Bowl champions.